Since Star Trek beamed onto the small screen back in 1966, the Klingons have been a mainstay race of a series and films ever since. Sure, they've undergone several changes over the years, and some more controversial than others. With the glorious Klingon Empire not getting much screen time from the current shows like Star Trek Picard and later seasons of Star Trek Discovery, what better time to give them a bit more than a throwaway mention and explore the tried and trusted weaponry of the Klingon Empire. Qapla'. Welcome to Trek Central, I'm your host Captain Jack, let's get straight into it. Throughout the years of the Star Trek universe, we have seen numerous ground weapons used by the honor-bound warrior race, be it blades or energy weapons. So, in today's video, we're going to take a look at all the different ones featured, what they are, and traditionally used for. Also, please be warned, pronunciation in this video on Klingon weaponry may be awful since I'm not fully fluent in Klingon, but we shall try our best to bring glory to our house at the end of the day. It's going to be funny, strap in. Of course, like always, if you want to keep up to date on all the latest Star Trek news, lore and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media for daily updates on the Star Trek universe. As always, please let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, because if you're talking about Star Trek, then we want to hear about it. Okay? Engage. The Killgat. We'll kick it off with a quick one, as it was only shown briefly in one episode. It was a small, three-sided, I guess you could say, a knuckle duster style of weapon, given how the user would wield it and its size. One was used by a female Klingon, conjured up by the Q-empowered Commander William T. Riker to attack Lieutenant Tasha Yar, but was promptly stopped and disarmed by Lieutenant Worf.
Worf, is this your idea of sex?
This is sex. But I have no place for it in my life now!
Next up, the tahg. It first appeared in Star Trek III: The Search for Spock, but it did not receive its canonical name until the Next Generation episode, Birthright Part 2. It held ceremonial value in Klingon culture, was also commonly used in close-quarter hand-to-hand combat. A short, partially hollow-bladed dagger with two central blades that would either be fixed or spring open, to act as a crossguard of sorts, though mainly to add more holes to the unfortunate person on the receiving end. The hilt would traditionally have spiked pommels, and usually bear the house emblem of the owner. One would be used in rituals such as the death of Lieutenant Mara Asta to extinguish a candle. It is considered an insult to honor for the Klingon Warrior to take a tahg from the grave of a fallen Klingon. Worf did this to Drex to get the attention of his father, Martok. The cutlass. Traditionally used by Klingon assassins. The blades were unfairly serrated to inflict very serious and, judging by the means of use, deadly wounds. The cutlass would be used by a pair of assassins hired by Duras to kill Kurn, Worf's brother. It was also a blade used in ritual act of violence to signify when a Klingon is to become a warrior, the Mevak. First seen in the Next Generation's episode, Sins of Our Father. The blade, whilst used to kill, who would have thought, was used in a ritual marked for war, in which a Klingon would use it to restore honor in the afterlife to a wrongly disgraced sibling. The twin prongs had different meanings, one to take life and the other to release the soul to Sto-vo-kor. The ritual itself is technically assisted suicide, and thus banned by the Federation and the Klingon Empire, unless the inflicted could not be treated by any medical means. Those who undertake the ritual themselves would be dishonored and sentenced to Grifor, or their equivalent of hell. An example of this is when Kurn requested that Worf perform a ritual on him, as they both had been dishonored by their father's name, Moog. Initially going through the ritual, Kurn was revived by Dr. Julian Bashir. Though at first angry at the intervention, Worf soon agreed with Captain Benjamin Sisko that it was no different to committing murder. The Higglebah. Similar in essence to the Mevak, when a warrior could not stand and become a burden to his or his house, rather than it being used by a sibling, the ritual would fall to a family member, preferably the eldest son. It would be plunged into the heart of the warrior and then removed, the blood is wiped on the wielder's sleeve. Another example, including our favourite Klingon, Worf, was when he faced paralysis. He, at the request that Commander Riker, performed the ritual, however declined as he did not wish to see Worf die, and remind him of those whose duty should be, though summarising he would not be able to ask his son Alexander to kill him. A Klingon demanding Hagobat formed the basis of Starfleet's medical ethics holo program in 2381. The Mek'leth. Whilst the tahg is commonly always carried, the larger blades are usually preferred when it comes to larger scale combat. Mek'leth is one of two, and can be used several times as Worf's preferred weapon to fight the Jem'Hadar during the Dominion War, and make easy work of the Borg attempting to overthrow the Enterprise E. A more ceremonial version of Mek'leth was seen in Star Trek Discovery, notably used by T'Kuvma the Unforgettable to kill Captain Philippa Georgiou. A special mention here, the House of Jura seemingly had their own variant of a tahg, but this would be the logical, shall we say, to summarise that the larger, more respected and even more obnoxious houses such as Duras would have their own take on a traditional dagger. Though never explicitly stated, it would make sense each house would carry something immediately identifiable to others, like an ID of sorts. The taktik. The tahg was the official bladed weapon used by the Klingon Chancellor, fashioned from a pommel and blade of a batleth. Just like the batleths of the era, the blade was segregated and slightly curved. The term tahg means a knife with a particularly long blade that is used almost as it were a sword. This weapon was only seen used by the Klingon Chancellor the year 2257, Lorel, when she was ambushed by the forces of the House Kor. However, officially this coup was said to be orchestrated by the Klingon-human hybrid, Ash Tyler, formerly known as Vok, with the head of the House of Kor, Kol Shar, defending his chance in order to solidify Lorel's rule over the Klingon Empire. Let's talk about the batleth. The most commonly seen and used blade of the Klingon Empire, aside from the tahg, and carried by nearly all Klingons into battle scenarios, aside from those using disruptors, was the batleth. A warrior's blade designed with precision and balance. Bilateral with 4 forward curved blades, and could actually decapacitate its victim with one stroke. The Federation Klingon War variant had the larger rear blades curved backwards. A tad dangerous to the user, but these are Klingons after all. Another highly revered variant of a batleth is the Sword of Kalish. A sword with such a legacy and symbolism can turn even the closer friends against each other for the chance to possess such a rare weapon for the Klingon history. This version of a batleth, considered to be the first batleth, did not feature 3 individual grips, instead a large, singular one. It also featured a single large prong in the center, essentially making it a 5-bladed weapon. Very honourable. The blade was said to be forged in Krishak Volcano from a lock of Kalish's hair, and he used the blade to slay the tyrant Molor. The last known canonical whereabouts of the Sword of Kalish is adrift in space in the Gamma Quadrant, after Worf and the Dahar Master Kor were damn near fought to death. Worf getting the upper hand, of course, and Lieutenant Commander Jadzia Dax was forced to step in and stun them both to end the fight. The Jintag. Now, a Jintag was a spear of sorts, more akin to a halberd, but besides the point. It was not the foreground of any fight scenes, however. It was witnessed to be used as a hoe by Tok in a Romulan prison camp. There was a Klingon title known as Jintag for one's trusted advisor. The connection between this title and the sphere, though, is unknown. A little bit of information here: there are numerous other bladed weapons, such as what we would consider traditional style swords, which would just be everyday stabby weapons, and eating utensils, which have been branded as weapons rather than traditional ceremonial and ritual armaments. But anyway, that's the bladed weapons cover. Let's move on to the energy-based weapons. Much like any other race, the Klingon carry a standard-issue sidearm, complementary to their tahg, a typical single-handed directed energy weapon firing a green pulse or beam of radiation of exotic particles. The Klingon disruptor pistols have undergone many variations over the centuries, as you'd expect with newly developed technology, but still keeping the same basic recognizable shape, with prongs either side of a barrel for unexpected close-range combat, and a butt which had a pointy edge, which would definitely do some damage in your everyday Klingon fashion. Officers would carry a distinct variation of a longer black barrel and extended silver muzzle. Chekhov threatened to stun his target in Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home, so we can at least speculate that some, if not all, Klingon weapons have a non-lethal setting, compared to the Romulan nemesis, whose weaponry did not have a non-lethal setting. Disruptor rifles were a large two-handed weapon, which gave off more energy than the pistol, or as one would say, the difference that they used 2 hands instead of 1. The Klingon version, compared to the Cardassian and Romulan versions, had induction cores which could burn out. Again, the rifle would undergo several changes throughout the centuries, from a singular weapon to seemingly an attachment to their disruptor pistols, but keeping the same basic function: shoot to kill. Let's quickly cover some ship weaponry. Most Klingon starships came equipped with disruptor weapons from disruptor banks, arrays, cannons, and photon torpedoes. The disruptor weapons were usually capable of firing either pulse or beam modes. Jadzia Dax discovered that the disruptor rays on a Klingon ships were capable of being modified to emit tetrion particles, which can be used to neutralize shields and energy-based weapon systems. Unlike other disruptors, such as Romulan, which left residual anti-protons, Klingon weapons gave a distinctive hadrons and ions of their signature. There were a couple of unique Klingon weapons. Let's quickly talk about them. Now, something equipped on a Klingon D7 battlecruiser was the capability of firing a magnetic pulse, which was only seen against the USS Enterprise in the Federation Klingon War of 2267. Seen in the original series episode, Errand of Mercy. One of the most experimental and less known Klingon weapons was a projected stasis field, which was a weapon of immense power that was capable of disabling all higher level field and warp systems, including the matter-antimatter generators aboard enemy starships. Now that does indeed wrap up our video on the weaponry of the Klingon Empire, some certainly more familiar than others. Hopefully it's enlightened those of you not already in the know a bit more about the rituals and ceremonial ways of Klingon weaponry. Hopefully we haven't missed any, but please do let us know in the video comment section as usual, because if you're talking about Star Trek, then we want to hear about it. Of course, if you'd like to take a look at another Star Trek faction's technology, let us know. Like always, if you want to keep up to date on the latest Star Trek news, lore and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media or join our community Discord server. For now, I've been Captain Jack, thanks for watching, we'll see you next time. Live long and prosper, my friends. Goodbye.